all the definitions that exist about a man and how someone might describe what a man is, this element of being a man, if it is missing, is crucially damaging. Hey, it's Harry
and Carson
with the Pillars Podcast.
Real talk for real growth.
Let's dive in. Well, here we are again to have a conversation about what young men can take away from these conversations in regards to helping them to become real men.
Pleasure to be back here.
Today, we're going to talk about what I believe is probably the most important aspect of being a man.
Really?
With all the definitions that exist about a man and how someone might describe what a man is, this element of being a man, if it is missing, is crucially damaging, because a man's essence is not about, and when we think about his strength, it's not about his domineering power. It has nothing to do with that.
Or his stature.
But yeah, none of that. In fact, what it really is about how gently he loves. And the most powerful person, entity that exists, God himself, he is very, 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 very powerful.
Yeah.
But the scripture, actually, Bible tells us how he describes himself in one of the most significant ways. He says that God is love.
Yeah.
And without love, he says there's no way to please him. If you're thinking everything you possibly can do for God, the one thing that is, if it's lacking, he says you can't please me. You won't make me happy at all if you don't love. And love, as he describes, love is willing to give up yourself. He says there is no greater love than a friend who's willing to give his life up for another person.
And in every aspect, right? I mean, financially.
Every aspect of life.
Yeah.
You know, because it then becomes the motivation for why you make money, why you save money, why you build a house, why you go to work, why you feed somebody, why you do anything. And if it's rooted in the gentleness of love, it transforms people's life.
Yeah.
That's exactly what people need for their lives to be transformed, right? I mean, have you ever had a relationship with someone who didn't love you or pretended to love you, and all they wanted to do is domineer or something?
Yeah, it was more like lust, you know.
You're displaying your love, or them displaying their love or their lust more than anything.
Yeah, and it was all emotional, you know. It wasn't spirit led at all, and there was no gentleness. It was such an opposite from what I'm experiencing now in my life. Mm-hmm. But I realized I had to learn that.
So that's a good thing for us to think. Then what is love?
Yeah.
What is love? The feeling, an emotion?
I think it's part of it, but it's so much greater. It's this, like you said, it's the sacrifice.
Yeah. Well, love does give you a feeling.
Yeah.
When you are loved, you are going to feel something. Mm-hmm. But when you're loved, it's not somebody sprinkling feeling over you. What they're doing is they're giving an action. They're demonstrating an action. They're demonstrating their kindness.
Yeah.
They're demonstrating their patience. They're demonstrating their long suffering, their sacrifice. They're demonstrating something to you that reveals to you, wow, this person loves me.
Yeah.
And when you feel that, when that happens, those actions happen, the feeling comes. And that feeling then opens us up to be able to then embrace. And that's a very powerful thing, love.
What you're kind of saying too is love is not the words you say, but it's more about your actions.
It's definitely the actions. You know, the actions are the primary, and then the words sometimes become just the the explanation that some people go, well, why are you doing that? Well, because I care for you.
Yeah.
Because you mean something to me. Now those words are put together with the action that actually, like, wow,
yeah,
that's what's happening. I get this. And that makes a big, big deal. Do you think most people in life experience that kind of love?
I think there's moments and glimpses, but I think a lot of people are lacking the unconditional love. They don't know what that is yet until they know Jesus and his love for us. But yeah, I think they're lacking everywhere, every day.
It's an interesting thing to think that when you have a child, the closest thing that comes to human expression initially of when you're coming to this world of unconditional love is a parent who takes care of a child, because a child can do nothing for themselves.
Yeah.
And so what they're experiencing is this care, this love, this person is my person, and they're going to take care of me. They can't even offer anything.
Right.
So that's why it would be so damaging, you can imagine, if in that state that this is the person who is the one who loves me and cares for me, they're raised with some brokenness.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
Where they don't feel that, or they don't get that.
When you paint that picture, it opens it up a lot more.
Mm-hmm. So the power of a father in the life of a child is so significant, because a child sees a father as very powerful.
Yeah.
Just the very nature of men and how we are. Before that child, he's big, strong, he can pick me up, lift me up. And when the words come out of his mouth connected to this action that he demonstrates his care for him, it helps this child open up his heart, open up his whole being to be able to receive love, and then even to be able at some time to be even able to model it.
Yeah.
But when it's lacking, and there's a wound and there's a hurt, and there is not these actions of love that they can understand, and then they see the Father, and this is what love is supposed to be. There's a big hurt, a wound, a brokenness that occurs there, and it makes it very difficult for them to be able to even receive love, and then eventually as they grow up to give it. And that's where a lot of men get kind of messed up.
Yeah.
Because they think I got to be this hard, tough, strong guy, and mostly the reason why they're doing that is because they're protecting themselves, because they haven't been loved.
Yeah.
And therefore they don't really know how to love very well.
Hey, we're glad you joined us today.
If you're resonating with the conversation, hit subscribe and stay in the loop.
Got a question or a topic you'd like us to explore? Drop it in the comments. We're listening.
And remember, the Pillars podcast is not just about talking. It's about taking action.
Check the link for more. So, and you're saying that love is much greater than just an emotion.
Yes, much, much greater. It elicits emotion. From other person when they actually experience the love. It changes people.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things about the scripture, it says that while we were yet sinners, Jesus died for us, and he demonstrated for us his love. Mm-hmm. And so when we knew we're enemies against this person, but they gave up everything for me, that's the action. And then the words is because I care for you.
Yeah.
Wow. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I care for you. Even when you. And if we can experience that, transforms life. That transforms young men's life. And so me dealing with young men who have not had fathers, one of the key and most important things as being a strong leader in a presence in their life is if they don't experience love from me in that way, it's almost going to make anything else very, very difficult. It'd be superficial at best.
Yeah.
So
it would be like something that's mandatory that these kids have to do.
Yeah.
And it would honestly burden their life if you weren't showing true love.
Yeah.
And so, but what if you go a little bit deeper? Like, what is that? What are some of the things that exemplify that kind of love?
Sacrifice, for sure.
Yeah.
When we talk about being a real man who brings life to one another, in the example of Christ who brought life, he sacrificed himself.
His life, yeah.
Yeah, and even when he was telling his disciples about what really matters, he's telling them, if you don't have love, it means nothing. You're in big noise. Mm-hmm. He says, follow my example. And what my example, if you want to be the greatest, be the servant of everyone. Be the servant of all. And that mindset, rather than if I'm talking to a young man or I'm talking about being a man, it would be a tragedy if being a man was understood as being the strong, tough, brash kind of guy. No, I don't want him. I want him to be the most gentle, but the most courageous. Mm-hmm. And to put those two together, gentleness and courageousness, and courageous based upon truth, you're going to be a pretty tough guy.
Yeah.
You're going to stand boldly on truth. There's a story about my son one time. I mean, I love my son. I love my kids, right? I come home one day, and my wife is telling me from work, and she says that my son has been having a difficult time breathing. Mm. And it's just, he couldn't breathe. And we're like, well, we should probably take him to the emergency room and see what's going on. I took him to the emergency room, and it's filled with people, and my son's not breathing. And so I go up to the front, and I go, hey, he's having a difficult time breathing. And they're like, oh, we're so busy. We're so busy. And I go, okay. And then as I'm asking what the time frame might be, because if he's not breathing, I'm really concerned about this.
Yeah.
And then while I'm holding him right there in front of the nurse's station, he throws up. I go to the bathroom, clean him all up and everything, and he's still just gasping for air.
Wow.
And you would not want to have been the lady on the other end of that table.
Oh, I'm sure.
Point. Because my love and passion for my son said, I don't care what's going on. I want to see a doctor now.
Yeah, take care of my son.
And you could see she was realizing, okay, this guy's getting a little upset. And I was like, because if you don't bring him out here, if you don't take him back there, I'm going to go find the doctor.
Yeah.
And I just started heading around. She goes, oh, okay, we'll get the doctor. They ended up getting the doctor, giving him breathing treatments. They gave him 3 breathing treatments. He still wasn't breathing well. They can't let him go. They have to admit him to the hospital. So they end up admitting him to the hospital that night. And he stayed the whole night and had to have treatments the whole night until he got better.
Yeah.
But because of my love for my son, I'm going to stand on what is true, that he needs help.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be his defender, and I'm going to be a fierce defender of him because of my love for him. When we love someone, we will be a fierce defender. And the beauty, the amazing thing of that is that Jesus, sent by God, the Father, is a fierce defender of us.
Yeah.
He came very gentle, give us life.
Yeah.
But when he comes back again, we're going to see that guy. We're going to see the guy who said, okay, I was merciful, but now I am going to protect my people. I'm going to bring them to me. And those who are my enemies, we'll see the fierceness.
Yeah, the judgment.
Because he wants us to live in peace and harmony and everything. And they're not going to coexist. He's going to rid it forever. Why? Because he loves us.
And I think that's such a great example of his sacrifice for us, because when we're going through things and we feel like we don't have love, we remember that he died for us.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yes.
Died for us. So you take your head out of that false mentality, and you shift your perspective on a godly perspective, and it's so much more beneficial.
Yeah.
And
gives us life.
It gives us life, exactly. Yeah. It's hard to put into words because it's like a supernatural thing sometimes.
It really is. And when we can embrace it, and that's one of the things that we must do as men to help young men who have had difficult times with and not receiving love from the Father. It's tough for them to do that. Mm-hmm. And so in very real practical ways, we've got to be patient enough to demonstrate to them they are loved.
Yeah.
And it's not that they just experience my love and that's the end. I want them to experience my love and know why I love them, because he loves us.
Yeah.
And be able to enlighten them to that, so that when they see the challenges in their life, they're not able to connect, that we can look very clearly to say, hey, these people want to love you. And maybe it's difficult for you to open up to let them love you. And those who do, let's be patient with them,
That's one of the hardest things ever, too.
Yeah.
And you would think that love is like this fast you know, the world thinks it's like this emotional feeling like we were talking about, but it's hard. Love is hard.
It's hard. Yeah. And what, you know, what gets in the way, Carson, is the fact that we say we want to love someone, but we also want to be loved. And when we don't feel the love from them, then we get all bent out of shape because they don't love us. And so we elevate ourselves, which creates the difficulty in love, because the direction of love is not elevating ourselves. It's humbling ourselves.
Yeah.
And if we're always humbling ourselves, we're always able to demonstrate love. And then when someone receives that love and sees that love demonstrate to them, they have the emotion of, I feel loved.
Yeah.
So it's always who can lower themselves for the need of the other person to love them.
Yeah.
Not, you're not loving me, you're not loving me, you're not loving me. That is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
Because we're humans.
Especially for young men. Yeah. I've struggled with that. I still struggle with that.
Yeah. Especially for older men, and struggle with that. I still struggle with that.
Really?
But it's the truth. But if we follow the lover, the real gentle warrior lover, Christ, He's going to help us.
And He's so patient with us too, especially when we're in our sin or in our transgressions against Him. You know, that's, like you said, that's when we're enemies, and we're not behind His love.
Yeah.
But He's still so gracious. He brings us behind His love, and waits on us.
That's what we want to receive it, so that we can oh, that's right, and then we're able to give it.
Give it.
We can't give love. He says, why do we love? Because He first loved us.
Yeah.
So I'm really encouraging young men to understand, to be a real man, we've got to embrace the love of the Father. So that then we can love others.
Have you heard of agape?
Agape, yes.
It's the Greek translation, and it's the highest form of love. Yeah. And that is the love of God that He has for us.
Yeah.
It's incomprehensive.
Yeah, incomprehensible. Well, this is a great discussion.
Yeah.
I hope young men will be able to embrace the love of God, to be the men that they've been called to be.